Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. I'm here with Paul Graham, who is, as you're probably all aware by now, head of dental at our friends at Christie Co. Hi Paul.
Hi, Simon. Thanks very much for having me on again.
Yeah, you're very welcome. It's that time of year again, I suppose. You've just released your 2023 dental market review document, summarising kind of what you've seen in the industry in the dental marketplace over the last 12 months.
Yeah, we
Another
have.
another very insightful document, I think. What are your highlights?
Yeah, no, good. I'm glad you think so. We do as well. It's, I think, been a really important um, review this year. Every year is, but with so much change in the market
Mm,
post-pandemic, the spike of 2021, 22, great performing years, lots of transactional activity, and then late 22 almost being the catalyst from the kind of mini budget, just having a bit of an impact and a load of mixed messages in the marketplace. It's good, it's bad, corporates are acquiring, corporates don't need to acquire, independents not buying anymore. There's been so much noise. It's been nice to get under the kind of skin of the transactional activity that we've had in 12 months, which between our valuation and sales the divisions at Christie Co accounts for about £1 billion in aggregate
yeah,
value. So there's been a lot of data there that we've
yeah,
managed to delve into. Um, and and I think now what we're seeing is how I would describe as a healthy recalibration in the market, or recalibrated. It has. People probably at the start of this year were kind of talking about waiting till the market comes back again. Now there's very much of a view this is the market. We are where we are now. And this market, for the record, is still very, very good.
mm,
Um, Approach from buyers and sellers should be slightly different going forward. And ultimately, the reasons for that is because buyers are a bit more sensitive about what they're acquiring. Their due diligence is generally a little bit more intense. They want to make sure that today's profit margin and level is going to be sustainable, and they'll almost kind of visualize and crystal ball gaze for the next 12 months and look at the headwinds and the various stresses that might impact that, and which is natural from a buyer's perspective.
yeah,
From a seller's perspective, though, I think you should still really note that when you have your prized asset on offer, um, you've got options on who you want to sell to, who's out there acquiring. Corporates are very selective just now. They have been historically. They have a certain criteria what they're keen to acquire. I would say that criteria has become even more specific. Um, what's really encouraging, though, the layer of buyers underneath those traditional corporates, I would describe as kind of empire builders, the semi corporates, micro corporates. Those buyers are really kind of pushing the boundaries just now. They're now seeing an opportunity where last year they were outpriced of the market by the traditional corporates who were really aggressive. Now seeing an opportunity to re-enter into the market, which is exciting for them. And then layer below that again, the independent first-time buyer, or independent buyer with a second, third, fourth
yeah,
site, still using traditional bank lending. That takes a little bit of time. Bank are doing their own due diligence on what's being acquired. They're looking at where interest rates are just now. And as long as the business is being valued at a sensible and realistic level, those deals still work. So
yeah.
yeah,
We've
I
certainly
think
seen. Sorry to interrupt. I think there's
yeah,
maybe a bit of delay on the line. We've certainly seen more activity in the kind of first time, second time buyer market
mm,
over the past 6 months. Like I think we've probably all experienced a bit of a lull for the first 6 months of the year,
yeah,
certainly from kind of mini budget onwards
mm,
until January, February time, but really has picked up from what we've seen since then. You
yeah,
see far more than we do covering
mm,
kind of the valuation side of everything as well. So
yeah.
I think actually one thing you mentioned a moment ago is all the noise we've had over the last 12 months. And I think you're right. A lot of it is just noise. You know, if anything, this tells me that, you know, the data in the document that you guys have produced is a bit of a continuation, really. Dental market
Yeah.
is still strong. Okay, perhaps not where it was, but you know, it was perhaps artificially high, and it's still really good, and
Yeah.
transactions are still being done, and it's not just the corporates.
No, definitely. I couldn't agree more. I think on the back of the corporate divestments this year, it's kind of been the year of corporate divestments. It's been amazing to see the appetite from independent buyers taking that opportunity to enter the market, and that I think that's a really good move from those independent buyers. They're acquiring what has been historically very, very good practices, and they have an opportunity as young entrepreneurs to improve those. I think that is something that we've not seen before necessarily. I think there's always been a bit of a stigma attached to corporate divestments. I would say any group operator, any corporate out there who generally starts to slow down or pause their acquisition program will take stock of their existing portfolios and should. I think that's a healthy thing to do. Recognize what works, what doesn't work, and divest those that actually could be opportunities for someone else. Reinvest that money into something more profitable, more suitable. The buyer profile for those are out there in abundance just now. So I think that's definitely a trend that is new for 2023. Pricing has to be sensitive, has to be sensible there. But there's absolutely the buyer profile for those opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the numbers. I'm sure you do, even if you can't kind of divulge them. But the interest in particularly the Bupa practices, I know they had quite a few up for sale, was phenomenal, and wide ranging as well. You know, it's not just the first time buyer after a bargain or perceived bargain. It was across the market from what I saw, and
indeed,
it just shows the buyers are there.
Yeah, absolutely. In that process, which is still ongoing, we were very cautious about what we were constituting as an offer. So a formal written offer, funding in place, not just a verbal indication, I'll buy this for X amount. And we received hundreds of offers on the divestment. So it's been great to see. It's been really good. I think there'll be more of that as we enter into 2024 as well, from other corporates. I think that's definitely something that has caught the eye of those corporate operators out there just now, just to see how well the process has gone. And the stigma that was once there has just dissolved ever so slightly. So the kind of appropriate thing to do for those operators to recognise something that doesn't quite fit with core portfolio anymore and divest them.
Yeah, it's interesting. And another stat that always stands out for me is how the market is broken down between, you know, precisely who is buying practices. I think the public perception, or the outward facing view, is that, well, the corporates are just buying everything. I mean, we probably have the same conversation every 6 months, but I think that's because they shout the loudest about having done so. They're not buying everything at all. And although I think activity there did slow a bit in the years, there were divestments going on, etc. I think even that's picking up again now, or starting to.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think the profile that the larger transactions tend to get might give a bit of a false perception of it's just the corporates that are acquiring. That is definitely not the case. When we're looking at our current pipeline, and I suppose you got to kind of factor in deal time it takes for a transaction to actually happen. So, there's 6 to 9 months of a corporate deal agreed, for example, that will still be sitting there until it's actually transacted. If we now look at our forecast, our pipeline of deals going forward. So effectively eradicate anything that's been done already, just look at the vision for the future. We have got over, well, it's about 70% of independent activity just now.
Okay.
I think that's fantastic. I almost think that is going to continue as the pipeline increases. I do think that the corporate slice will actually diminish again. It'll just erode ever so slightly.
Interesting.
I think the message that we're getting from independent buyers just now and being backed by their advisors, lending institutions, high street lenders, the kind of hiatus that those headwinds that we were seeing 4 months ago, 5 months ago, it's not about painting a rosy picture just now, but it feels as though the market has just shifted their mindset. We're at a normalized level now, and I think that's important to take stock of.
Yeah, certainly. I think, everything that happened in the mini budget just over a year ago certainly didn't help anyone in any way, I don't think, except maybe if you're a banker who can now have a bigger bonus again. But the uncertainty in interest rates, we've still got uncertainty even as they kind of hold and perhaps tip towards a drop. Even that creates some uncertainty, but there is still stability a little bit there. There's no fear of being caught out in a high rate. I think that's just where we are, and the same applies to therefore the values of practices and the multiples and the profits they're producing. It's all kind of, to use the word you used earlier on, recalibrated a bit, and actually again, the message is it's still a strong position.
Indeed.
I would ask what you think your predictions for the future are, but we know that the lead time on a deal is 6 to 9 months, so you kind of already know, and we've kind of already said. But is there anything else you think might be coming that you can't quite see yet? I know it's a fool's errand to try and predict the future, but
yeah, good question. I think what we're probably one of the questions that was posed was, are we going to continue seeing demand for private practices? If the consumer spend is just starting to tighten a little bit, are those private practices going to be performing as well as they have done in the last 2 years, the trends post-pandemic? It feels to me that the appetite and criteria from broad range of buyers just now, they're still very much, tracking towards a good private practice.
Yeah.
I think high-end specialist practices that have an element of, elective treatments there may find a little bit of erosion around the edges, a little bit of softening there. But for good private dentistry, it feels as though that is here to stay. Yeah. I think what's interesting, the NHS at times can get a bit of a bashing, and I think that comes from those who are rallying to improve the framework. We know there's still some very, very good operators out there, particularly in the corporate profile, who have built their portfolios around core NHS.
Yeah.
And actually, they're not getting nervous about that just now. If anything, they're looking at the future with a little bit of optimism. So I think, we've kind of seen this play out before, haven't we? And I think there's going to be an element of NHS activity at any given time. Whether or not that spikes again will be interesting to see. But for now, I think it comes back to a healthcare needs-based related sector is always going to do well in times of difficulty, regardless of what the economic headwinds look like. So for those who are kind of perhaps taking a bit of a helicopter view just now, wondering, shouldn't I? I think giving time to the process, getting used to what's available on the market, find a mentor who's acquiring, find out why they're acquiring, and actually just generate a bit of self-confidence and belief into taking on your own practice. I think is now a greater time than ever to do so.
Very strong closing words and a very positive outlook, I think. Thank you very much, Paul. Unless there's anything to add, I think we'll keep it short and snappy as I describe, and
Yeah, no, my
we'll put
pleasure.
we'll put a link up so everyone who hasn't yet seen it can view the dental market review document,
Super.
and get in touch with Hive or with Christie Co if you're interested in understanding more about opportunities to buy or sell practices.
Indeed.
Otherwise, thank you very much.
Super. Thank you, Simon.
Thanks, Paul. Bye.